Welcome to my channel, where we take an in-depth look at some of the weirdest, craziest, most wonderful and downright evil things nature has to offer. Today we're answering a query that's been plaguing philosophers since the dawn of time. Why does life suck if you're born a saltwater crocodile? Chapter 1. The Toaster in the Thunderstorm. Our story begins with Carl, our unlucky saltwater crocodile, who's about as fierce as a toaster in a thunderstorm. No, seriously, if you put this guy in a rainstorm, he'd probably start crying. See, Carl was born under a particularly gloomy sky. His mum told him he was destined to be a legend, a great hunter, the terror of the tides, all that before noon. But from the moment he cracked out of his egg, Carl's life was a series of close calls. He took one look at the swamp beyond his nest and announced, "That is where I will live." He then promptly stumbled into a puddle and stayed there for 2 days until someone shooed him out with a stick. Chapter 2. Bubble Trouble. Carl's first bath in the swamp was supposed to be majestic, like Michelangelo's David, except wetter. Instead, it turned into a bubble bonanza. Turns out baby Carl had a digestion problem. Every time he tried to sneak up on a bug, pop! Went a bubble from his butt and zip went the bug. The dragonflies laughed, the turtles mocked him, even a frog gave him side-eye, and Carl felt terrible, like his insides were a bag of wet socks. He tried to hide, but the bubbles followed him like a bad smell. Chapter 3. Dreams of being the apex predator. By the time Carl was a teenager, he had dreams of being the apex predator, the king of the food chain, the top dog. He watched nature documentaries on leaves and thought, one day that will be me. But Carl had one big issue: timing. He would stalk his prey like a pro, silent, sneaky, spooky, then sneeze loudly, every single time. Once he got so close to a gazelle that he could practically count its eyelashes. He lunged and sneezed so violently he slapped his own face with his tail. The gazelle, gone. Carl, mud in his nose and ego. Chapter 4. Love bites. Then came mating season, the crocodile version of prom night. Carl flexed his muscles, practiced his growl, and even combed his scales with a fishbone. He swam up to a lady croc and tried his best Barry White impression. "Hey girl, wanna share a log?" She laughed, out loud, in front of everyone. Then she bit his tail. To this day, Carl twitches when he hears the word log. Chapter 5. Death roll fail. Everyone knows the classic death roll, right? When a crocodile flips its prey like a maniac in the water to tear them limb from limb. Well, everyone except Carl, because he never quite mastered it. He spun, he flailed, he smacked into a rock, he spun the other way. He got dizzy and floated belly up for a solid 10 minutes. Fish gathered around like they were attending his funeral. Chapter 6. The social life of a swamp nerd. Now, aside from being socially awkward and rhythmically challenged, Carl had another problem. He was kind of a nerd. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But in the swamp, being a nerd isn't exactly encouraged. I mean, think about it. If you're a swamp animal, you're either into wrestling balls or eating tourists' GoPros. How much time do you have left for bird watching? Exactly, none. So when Carl tried to make friends, they just didn't get his vibe. He tried starting a book club. Only a confused raccoon showed up. Chapter 7. Operation. Prove them all wrong. One day, Carl decided to prove everyone wrong. He spotted a group of tourists with snacks, perfect for a stealth mission. He crept through the reeds, lowered himself into the water and silently approached. Just as he reached the shore, he farted. So loudly a flock of birds took off. The tourists screamed. Carl panicked and tripped over a log. Yes, that log. He tumbled, flipped, and ended up wearing a sun hat and holding a juice box with his tail. His photo went viral. The caption, "When you're apex predator, but lactose intolerant." Chapter 8. The many misfortunes of sunbathing. Crocodiles like to bask in the sun. It's their spa day. But not Carl. He couldn't even lie down without drama. Every time he tried to settle on a sunny bank, he'd slip and tumble into the mud. His entrance to the sunbathing club was always accompanied by a loud thud and mud in his eye. Once he landed on another crocodile named Steve. Steve wasn't amused. Carl still has a scar shaped like Steve's dental pattern. Chapter 9. The Ballad of Carl and Steve. Speaking of Steve, let's delve into their tumultuous relationship. Steve was everything Carl wasn't: confident, sleek, and had a killer sense of timing when it came to catching fish. He ruled the river with an iron jaw, and everyone respected him, except Carl, who tried to prank him. See, Carl had noticed Steve liked to nap on a particular rock in the middle of the river. So Carl figured, what's the hardest thing near that rock? A log. Yes, a log. He pushed it into the water with his nose, aiming for Steve's rock. But the current had other plans. The log hit Steve's head and knocked him unconscious. Now, normally, a crocodile would see a fellow croc knocked out in the middle of the river and think, well, here's my chance to steal his girlfriend and rule the river. But Carl, bless his naive heart, thought, oh dear, what have I done? He tried to revive Steve, nudging him, shaking him, even performing mouth-to-snout resuscitation. After 20 minutes of this, Steve woke up, saw Carl, and assumed he was trying to kill him. This led to the biggest fight in river history, a battle of roars, snapping jaws and flying scales. They wrestled until sunset, neither giving an inch. Finally, exhausted, they flopped onto the bank, panting heavily. They stared at each other for a moment, then simultaneously looked away, both thinking, well, that was stupid. And that's how their friendship began. Chapter 10. The Gift of Gab. While Carl may not be the best hunter or the most graceful swimmer, he does have one gift, the gift of gab. Sure, his attempts to flirt are often met with awkward silence or worse, but put him in front of a camera, and he's a natural. You could say he's got swamp charisma. Thanks to his viral fame, Carl now has a fan base that tunes in every week to watch him fail at hunting, flirt and sunbathe. Maybe Carl wasn't meant to be the ferocious hunter his mum dreamed of, but he's found his niche entertaining the swamp set. And hey, in the swamp, that's almost as good. So there you have it. Being a saltwater crocodile might sound cool, but if you're Carl, it's a bumpy ride full of bubble butts, bad dates, and a lot of public humiliation. But hey, he's got a positive message, a killer smile and a fan base. Maybe Carl wasn't born to hunt prey, but he was born to entertain. And in the swamp, that's almost better. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Why Does Life Suck? If you want to see more episodes, please subscribe.